Hi, and welcome back to Rediscovering RC. I'm your host, Julio, but my friends call me Jay. In my last episode, I talked a little bit about my history in RC and what I'd like to do as I come back to the hobby. As I mentioned in the last episode, I decided that I wanted to come back with an open mind and basically just choose the brands that I think that would work for me as I come back. One of the things that I didn't mention in that video when I talked about my history is that I did own an RC10. Off-road was something that I was always interested in, but unfortunately due to the circumstances here in the area, was something that I never really got to enjoy all that much. I can probably count on one hand the number of times that I actually got to drive that vehicle on a track. So it was something that sat on the shelf for the most part, and it's something that I left unrealized with my enjoyment of the hobby. So moving forward, off-road still commands a great portion of the hobby and is probably still the most popular aspect of the hobby when it comes to racing. So I definitely want to enjoy that. Today I have some tracks that, although not close by, are close enough that I can still go every once in a while to do some club racing. And who knows, if my interest grows even more, I may pursue, going to bigger races to compete in them. So given my history, I did my research, I started looking around and decided, what would be the brand that would be good for me. And after a bit of research, I came across and decided to choose TLR to be the brand of choice for me. A funny thing happened while I was doing my research. Yes, being a fan of Associated in the past, I was looking at the B6.1, D in particular, because the tracks close to me are dirt tracks. But a couple of funny things happened along the way. First off, it came out in the news that Gil Losi Jr. would be rejoining TLR and increase his capacity as a consultant to the company, moving forward with new designs and the product line. So that was a big influence in my decision. I read and seen things on the internet talking about how TLR really hasn't been the same since the original days of Team Losi. But I think now with his involvement back in the company, you're going to see a shift in that. That being said, doing my research, the people at TLR are very involved with the communities that are out there. So, that's a good sign whenever you can reach out to someone, especially, a shout out to Frank Root, who I see on the RC Tech forums all the time. I think that's great for a product line to be able to have that close contact with the people that are involved with the products. So as you can see, I decided on the DC 5.0 Elite. It was just so much value in this box to look the other way. There's probably close to $200 in optional parts, in this box. Aside from the fact that you don't get wheels, wheels are basically about $12 for a set. So, lots of value in this package, and I really couldn't give that up. So, in the end, I'm kind of looking forward to that, running this buggy. Aside from that, there was the excitement of the IFMAR Worlds 4-wheel drive. Dakota Fenn was blowing it up on the track with the new buggy now that we know is called the 22X4. I've already got that on pre-order, so I'm going to be excited to be running both 2-wheel drive and 4-wheel drive in the off-road classes. Okay, so now that we got the buggies out of the way, let's talk a little bit about the electronics. Now, I said I was going in with an open mind, and this decision here is going to be a little bit controversial, but the brand that I've decided to go with for my electronics is Spektrum radios. Now I know what you're thinking. Everybody always talks down about Spektrum, but to be honest, I've found that their support, they are active, just like TLR is active in RC Tech. There are representatives from Spektrum that are always there to answer questions. Granted, the DX6R had a pretty rocky start when it launched, but to be honest, in doing my research, I literally haven't seen anybody complain about this for well over a year. And let's be honest, a lot of times that you do hear complaints about this radio, it's always, someone who saw someone else having problems with the radio. There's a lot of problems with that. Number one is that you don't know what that person's experience is. Maybe they do take good care of their equipment, maybe they don't. That's something that as another person, one way or the other, we can't answer. So anyways, again, I'm going in with an open mind, and there's a lot of technology packed into this little package. So I'm looking forward to seeing what this, what this provides for me. And you know what? If it doesn't work out, I can always go back to Futaba, which was the brand that I, chose before. So this is going to be my radio. As far as the electronics on the car itself, I've decided that I'm going to go with the Spectrum 6240. This is the receiver edition. It's basically got the equivalent of an SR 2010 built into it. This is also a servo that Dakota ran at the championships in his buggies. Saves a little bit of space. It'll allow me to adjust the weight balance on the car a little bit. And aside from a couple of things that I want to do to this, again, based on the research, number one is the top plate. I've seen a lot of reports where this plastic top plate tends to crack over time, and then once that does, the servo output gear kind of like wobbles a little bit, and that could lead to problems internal in the servo. So I did get the metal top for this. And the other thing, because it's made especially for the DC Elite buggy, is I'm also getting the built-in mount on this case. So this will mount directly onto the 22 5.0. And again, no extra hardware. I know that the Elite comes with a really nice servo mount, but the fact that it's integrated into the servo case itself, I think is going to be a really good job for that. Okay, now that we've got the controversial decision out of the way, let's talk about some of the other electronics that I'm going to be putting into my vehicles. As far as powering the car and handling all of the labor behind it, I decided to choose Tekin. Now, a lot of history here, because every little bit of electronics that I ran in my cars before was all Novak. And unfortunately, Novak, Bob Novak decided to retire about 3 years ago. Bob, you had a wonderful career. I loved your products. I wish you were still here. But of all the other brands that are on the market, if there was one brand that I would run other than Novak, it would have been Tekin. And again, in doing my research, I do know that Tekin was repurchased years ago, basically saved from bankruptcy pretty much. And what the current owners have done, to revive the brand, I think is fantastic. So for my other cars that I'm going to choose, and that you will see shortly, I'm going to be running Tekin motors, Tekin ESCs, and I'm going to be running Tekin servos where applicable. The big exception obviously being the TLR, because I am running the Spectrum integrated servo and receiver combo with that. To power everything up, the juice so to speak, I've decided on ProTech RC. ProTech is a brand that I researched. I know it's A-Main's personal brand. As far as I've researched, they've really done their homework in terms of selecting some OEMs, particularly for the batteries that they sell. From what I understand, they're sourced from a very good OEM manufacturer, so I have no doubt that these will do me very well. Aside from the ProTech RC batteries, I am going to be using a Prodigy 625 AC/DC charger. So as far as powering my vehicles, it's going to be ProTech RC all the way. Okay, so now that we got off-road out of the way, I would be remiss if I didn't do some on-road racing as well. To make a long story short, I live very close to a world-class facility that has been host to a couple of world championship on-road races already. So, I mean, on-road racing has always been in my blood, and I seriously, I'd be remiss if I didn't include that in my RC program. So just like in off-road, there are quite a few brands to consider when racing on-road, and of all of them, the one that I chose was Serpent. This one for me was a no-brainer. My previous experience on road, particularly in Nitro, was with Serpent. I've decided to continue with the brand. Picked up a 750 Natrix car, which I'm looking forward to racing. As it is Nitro racing, obviously I'm going to need something to power it, and I decided, again, to stick with what I knew. I'm going to be running Nova Rossi engines, and this is something where I really had to put some thought into it. In my research, I discovered that the Rossi family is really no longer associated with their namesake. They eventually went on to form Reds Racing for their own line of motors, which, to my understanding, I believe are Pico based. But anyways, I would appreciate any feedback. Please leave comments below. If you have any opinions. Is Nova Rossi still a good brand? Should I be looking at Reds and sticking with the namesake of what made this company so great to begin with? Let me know. So really, for Nitro Power, for now at least, I'm going to stick with Nova Rossi. I've picked up for now an Isan, which I'm just going to use just to get back into it. get used to driving, and then maybe pick up something a little bit more potent like the Mephisto, or if Nova Rossi should happen to pick up with something new down the line, I may pick up that up as well. But in the meantime, it's just about getting reassociated with nitro. There is a bit of a additional maintenance that's involved with nitro, but I enjoyed it before. I see no reason why I wouldn't enjoy it again. So as long as we're talking about on-road, what the heck, I want to do a little bit of electric racing as well, so I went ahead and picked up the recently released X20 Medius as well. Again, it's all about Serpent. I could have gone with a bunch of different choices, but personally, I've always liked the brand. No reason to switch with something that you already like, so this is the way we're going to go. And I'm really excited to working with this. Well, that'll do it for this episode of Rediscovering RC. I hope you come back and join me as I'll start unboxing some of these things to take a look on the inside. And I hope you don't forget to like, comment, favorite, and subscribe. I really look forward to the comments and feedback. I'll do my best to try to make this channel as best as I can. And until next time, take it easy.